Hi, I'm Jose Armenta, and this is your Federal Employee Benefits, where we cover topics aimed at helping first federal employees like you make smart financial decisions. Today, we're going to discuss what you should be considering when trying to decide whether you should be putting your money in the Roth or the traditional TSP. Now, if you're new here, make sure you hit that subscribe button so you don't miss any future videos. Okay, let's dive in. Okay, so to begin, let's review what's not different. Okay, what's the same for the traditional and the Roth TSP? Because there's a few things. Okay, they're both employer-sponsored plans, meaning they're provided by your employer, the federal government. Okay, when you retire, you'll have the same withdrawal options, at least as of right now in 2023, and I don't see that changing anytime soon. Okay, so there's a few things that are the same. On top of that, the amount that you can contribute on an annual basis is the same. Okay, the maximum amount that you can put into these accounts is the same for both. Okay, so for 2023, the maximum amount that you could contribute to the Roth or the traditional TSP is $22,500. Okay, that's the max. Now that doesn't include your employer match. Okay, that doesn't go towards this maximum. This maximum is strictly what you as the employee can put into your TSP. Okay, now additionally, in both accounts, you're eligible to contribute more if you are 50 or over. Okay, it's called the catch-up contribution. And in 2023, the catch-up contribution for federal employees who are 50 and over is $7,500. Okay, so if you're a federal employee and you're 50 and over, you could contribute a maximum of $29,500, right? The $22,500 that everyone can contribute to either TSP and the catch-up contribution of $7,500. So that's what's not different between the two accounts. Okay, now let's cover what's unique about the traditional TSP. So the traditional TSP is what's known as a tax-deferred account, okay? And I like to refer to it as the tax me later account, because that's essentially what you're doing when you use the traditional TSP. You are deferring taxation on the amount that you put in there. Okay, so if you contribute $10,000 to your traditional TSP, you're removing $10,000 from your taxable income. So your income the $10,000 you put into the account will not be taxed. So you're reducing your income for the year by the amount you put into this account. So if you put $10,000 in the traditional TSP, then your income that you'll be taxed on is reduced by that $10,000, okay? And the money that you put into the traditional TSP will grow tax deferred. You will not pay any taxes on any of the money, the earnings that grow throughout the years. But when you retire and you start to take money out of the traditional TSP, that's when you will start to pay taxes, okay? You will pay taxes on every penny that comes out of your traditional TSP, okay? So that's really the big difference here. And that's what's unique about the traditional TSP, okay, is that you're going to pay taxes at a later date in retirement when you take the money out. Now, when deciding or trying to decide whether you should use this account or not, the big question is whether you think you will have a higher tax rate later or whether you believe you have a higher tax rate now, okay? Because if you believe that right now you are in your peak earning years, okay, and when you retire, your income will drop, okay? It will go a little lower, and so you'll be in a lower tax rate. If you believe that's the case, then it makes sense for you to withhold paying taxes now in your peak earning years and defer your tax bill until retirement when you believe your income will drop and you'll be in a lower tax bracket. Okay, remember, we have a progressive tax system. The more you make, the higher the tax rate that you'll pay. And so if you believe that you'll have lower income in retirement, then push the bill towards retirement so you could pay at a lower rate. Okay, now what's unique about the Roth TSP? Also known as the tax me now account, okay? Because again, that's what you're doing. It's the complete opposite of the traditional TSP. Instead of deferring taxation and pushing your tax bill until a later date, you're deciding to pay taxes now. Okay, so with the with the Roth TSP, you're going to put tax dollars that have already been taxed. Your funds have already been taxed. You pay taxes on it. You're going to put that into the Roth TSP, the after-tax dollars in the Roth TSP. They're going to grow tax shelter, not going to pay any taxes on it. And then in retirement, when you pull the money out, it's tax-free, okay? So that's the great thing about the Roth TSP. But you're going to pay taxes. So on both accounts, you're paying taxes. You're just deciding when do you prefer to pay taxes. Do you want to pay taxes now or do you want to pay them later? And again, the same consideration you want to have the same consideration when deciding whether to use the Roth TSP. Okay, think about, okay, are you in your peak earning years now? Have you just started your career? Are you still growing your income and you're at a lower income right now? So if you just started working for the federal government or you're midway in your career and you believe that your income is going to grow substantially over the next 15, 20 years, then it may be the perfect time to put as much money as you can into the Roth, okay? Because your tax rate now is much lower than it will be when you're in retirement, okay, and your income is higher. Or if you're in your peak earning years and you believe that you're making the most money you'll make in your lifetime, right? Your tax rate is probably the highest it's going to be, and it's going to drop when you go into retirement. Then it doesn't make sense to use a Roth and pay your tax bill now versus deferring it for a few years and then paying it later. Okay, so really this is the consideration here is when do you believe you'll be at the highest tax rate, okay, and then make the decision based off of that. Now, another thing to consider is if you're beginning to save later in your career, because with the Roth TSP, there is a 5-year rule, meaning that account has to be open for 5 years before you take money out for it to be tax-free. So that's a huge consideration here. So if you just started saving in the Roth TSP a couple years before retirement, then that might not be ideal for you if you're going to need those funds within 5 years. Okay, so that's a unique rule, something you're going to want to consider. Okay, so we reviewed the traditional TSP and what should be considered. We reviewed the Roth TSP and the main point to be considered, right? It all revolves around when do you believe your tax rate will be highest, okay, and trying to defer or pay taxes now based off of that. Okay, you're trying to find the best time to pay your tax bill. Okay, but you don't necessarily need to pick one or the other because no one has a crystal ball. And a lot of federal employees are surprised to find that they are in a very similar tax rate when they retire to the tax rate they had when they were in their peak earning years. Because if you do it right, your income is not going to drop much when you enter retirement. No one plans on living off of 50% of their pre-retirement income when they're in retirement, right? No one wants to drop their standard of living by 50% when they're in retirement. Ideally, you will save enough in your TSP so that when you retire, you'll have Social Security, you have your first pension. With your TSP withdrawals, you'll make up close to 100% of what you had when you were working, right? That's ideally what should happen. And if that is the case, then your tax rate will be very similar to what it was when you were working, okay? And in that case, then it may make sense to use both accounts. Use the traditional TSP to take advantage of some tax benefit now, okay? Maybe you're close to the next tax bracket and you can reduce your income by a certain amount and wiggle your way into a lower tax rate, right? And so save a few percentage points on taxes. That could be a huge benefit, okay, using the traditional TSP there. And then put the rest of the money into the Roth TSP and take advantage of that tax-free income and no RMDs, right? With the Roth TSP now, there are no RMDs. And so that's going to be a huge benefit for folks who have Roth accounts. Okay, you're not going to have these required minimum distributions when you are 72 or 73, depending on your age. Okay, so some considerations there. You don't have to pick one or the other. You can have diversification, just the way you should have a diversified TSP with domestic stocks, international stocks, and the S fund. You should have a diversified tax base so that wherever you land in retirement on the tax rate table, you can adjust and be strategic about how you withdraw your money from the TSP. So I hope you found this video helpful. If you did, hit that like and subscribe button. That's the best way to support this channel. And until next time, I'm Jose Armenta. Take care.